Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Like we say on this show, it all depends the time zone from where you are watching. Welcome to The Leader, courtesy of Catholic and Evangelical Alliance of Kenya. Well, as we count down to Christmas, we have a guest in the studio, Bwana Stanley Wandeto, who's the Director, Missions and Partnerships at iServe Africa. Leading with purpose is today's topic. You're a leader and you look purposeful, Bwana Wandeto. Karibu.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Let's talk about you. I see you as someone who has purpose. Lakini ulitoka wapi? Wait, it didn't just happen
No,
in this
no.
world. Ulianzia wapi?
It's a big
Ulizaliwa
start.
wapi? Ukaenda wapi to where you are at?
Here I am, born in Jerry in the 90s. That's when I began my journey of life, if I would say so. And of course, now growing up through schooling around Nyeri, then come to university, then out of university, now you join the world. So you come to a place where you're told, out there.
Out there.
So I'm out here.
There is here now, right?
Yes, I'm out here now.
Right.
And so through that, then came and joined the organization I am serving at, which is iServe Africa. But I am born again. I love Jesus. I am a sheep in his pasture. I am a member of the flock. I'm very glad to be here this morning.
I just suggest that not only being a sheep in the flock, you're also a shepherd in your own right.
There is, yes. I am a shepherd.
So who are the other flock in your pen? You have a family. Sheep yako ziko kona gani?
I do have a family. My wife Sylvia and two children, Steve and Steph. So 2 years and 4 years. The older one is 4 years. And those are members of my immediate family, if I would say that.
Right.
Yes.
Now tell me, was iServe the very first employer after campus? Or you had been to other places before iServe?
I had been for a short time to the hotel industry for which I trained.
No wonder your name is Stanley. It's familiar, but there's no branding. It's okay.
No branding. So I did do a bit of hotel work.
Yes.
And then now, after completing final work at school, then I was able to join now ministry as an intern with iServe Africa. So I did 2 years with iServe Africa before joining the staff team, for which now I am serving in the missions department. Yeah.
Very interesting. Leading with purpose. From where you sit, what would you suggest as a basic definition of purpose?
Yeah, a working understanding for purpose would be the action or the performance of a role that would not happen unless the leader does it. So that then the leader would say, this is my reason for being here. Or even an individual, because leadership comes down to the individual, it comes to the corporate, it comes to the family space, it comes to the spiritual space, and what we visibly see today, the political space. But once an individual is able to tell that this is the one single role, or a number of roles that I have to do far too well, that nobody else is responsible for or is charged to do, then that starts to define purpose. So that one is able to tell that for the output of my life, my main contribution in a certain domain, because leadership is contextual. There will be leadership for what we would say in institutions. There will be leadership in the home. There will be leadership in a space. There's always a context for which leadership applies. So then the individual charged with the responsibility to show others the way or to chart a way forward then has to define where is my purpose here.
You know, Kenya is very political. Let me just put a context to it.
Yes.
Mimi ni leader. Na niko na manifesto. Is that purpose?
Oh, yes and no. Reason being, when we have purpose, especially the written ones, the placards, or how we have it, that we have things we show, because leadership right now is something we show. We have to tell others, this is what we are about as an institution or as a leader. Mimi ni kiongozi, this is what I'll do for you, which is a good thing to say. So innate can have the idea of purpose, especially if it flows to the individual that they really want to do that. Not a branding issue at that level. You do not want to do that so that you're looking good on the outside, but you want to achieve what you really want to do. So when you have all these things that you stipulate that I would love to do this for you, because leadership has an aspect of saying for you. And purpose as well is the same. If purpose would be going for others, it's not for the individual's gain, it will be going for the service of others. So then in that sense, the manifestos would be a good idea to at least shape the way forward for what a purpose is. But as you know, and I know, it does not always apply.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
In any case, purpose could be manifested.
Yes.
No wonder. In a manifesto, packaging where I have a vision where I want to go.
Yes.
And I imagine during the campaign period, one is selling the manifesto, which is then the vision of where they want to take us. And if I contextualize leadership with purpose and look at it, juxtapose it. Wow, nimeongea kizungu hapo kama au Kiingereza. Into a matatu that is heading. The leader is the driver. Na inasonga.
Yes.
You are the passengers in it. Are you in the right vehicle where you're heading? Maybe, maybe not.
Maybe, maybe not. And that's a big one because the driver of the matatu knows his route.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. But the passenger has to determine where they want to arrive and do the checks and say, this matatu heads for this route, therefore, because I want to arrive to destination X, and this is along the route that this matatu will take, then I can hop in. But if not, then I should not hop into that matatu because without purpose, every destination is right.
Yes.
You could arrive somewhere without a goal or an end in mind, then whatever place you arrive at,
that's where you should be.
That's where you should be. And oftentimes then you find yourself, I'm in the wrong place. Now you have to do the math of again, now how do I get back to the right route? How do I get back? Yes. Recalibrate your journey again or take another matatu to take you back to where you started your journey and off to your right route.
Let's trace back at ISAV. What is ISAV all about? What is its mission? What do you do? How do you execute it? Mission,
Yes.
partnerships director, your basic JD.
ISAV Africa as a whole, we are known for what we do is connecting God's people with God's mission. So our work is cut with mostly the young people, either people who are leaving high school or people who are leaving college, and people who want to go for mission. And ISAV does this far too well because we teach the gospel. We want people to understand the Lord Jesus, and we want them to walk in the ways of the Lord, so that when they have left the schooling setup and now they are going into their next steps in life, then they would be individuals who would stand for Christ, sort of to say they will go and taste as salt and shine as light for Jesus Christ in the world for which they are going to serve. So the word serve is very intentional in the name I Serve Africa. Maana ni watumishi, watu ambao wangependa kutumika kwa utukufu wa Bwana in whatever context you find yourself in. For you understand, if someone is leaving college and they would love to do an internship to become people who love the gospel or understand God's mission, they will end up in different places in the society where the Lord sends them to go and do his work. So in that sense, then we find ourselves developing even leaders. We're in sort of a leadership development journey. We're in sort of a situation where we are helping to make the next workforce that would be for Jesus's cause in the world.
Wonderful. How long has ISAV been around?
So ISAV started out in 2007. Our team leader, Reverend Harrison Mungai, is the one who began the work, and alongside him, teams of people have been coming along, and for whom we have learned a lot of leadership stuff from Moya, a good man of God. And so now this is about 15, 17 years of work and doing ministry that helps to engage the young people so that they go off and serve the world where the Lord sends them. Now,
in leadership and leading with purpose, it behoves that decisions must be made. Yes. You cannot sit on the fence.
Yes. And as a leader, one thing that people will always do is to look up to you to give the direction. And that's a huge responsibility because as one has the responsibility of taking others to a direction which hopefully themselves also need to know. Because someone has wisely said that leaders are dealers in hope. Tomorrow hasn't arrived, but I would love to say tomorrow we will do this and this.
Yes.
That's the idea there. And I would say that decisions will be made because for a group of people or a gathering of people who have different roles to come together and go in one direction, then a decision has to be taken.
And sometimes the right decision is not necessarily the popular decision. What are the challenges then if you want to play to the gallery you subscribe to not wanting to disappoint, and some decisions will have painful consequences
Yes.
at the moment, but there is the hope that you're dealing with for tomorrow.
Yes.
What has been your experience?
Decisions have to be made, that I agree, and not all decisions will be popular. There are some decisions that will get cross with a few members of the team. There are some decisions as well that will be applauded, and especially decisions that favor the me. Those will be
Yes.
good decisions all the time.
Right.
But for decisions that now, because as a leader, I think one has the intention to ensure that you can see the greater good of the team, not only in the present, but also in the future. So the process of then decision making will have to be one that someone has to be sensitive, you have to be wise about it, you have to collect enough information. For amongst the challenges of having to make good decisions is also the amount of information you have access to. So knowing your environment, knowing the information that you have to work with so that you take a decision to chart a way forward, that will come in handy. Now, when you make decisions that are not popular to the mass, then that will call for you to find the right strategy so that you're able to onboard even those who might otherwise be opposing where you are. And it's okay to have people of a different opinion, but then how do you accommodate them? How do you negotiate with them? How do you come together with them so that at least at the end of the day, we are able to achieve the goal for which we are here together? For, as you know, not all decisions will have to favor Stanley, but decisions will favor the group for which Stanley is a member. And that has to be moderated as people walk the journey as far as we are all together on a common board that we need to move forward.
At the family level, before you even get to the secular or organization level, what examples can you share of decisions that you have made or will make or might make?
We do have these decisions we have to take almost on a regular basis, in my home especially, because we want to think about where we live, we need to think about where our kids go to school, we need to think about how we are handling our finances, how we are doing our spiritual life as it is, and all these decisions are calling for us to come together and form an agreement. And I'll have an opinion, my wife will have an opinion. The babies nowadays have opinions.
Yes.
They say what they want to eat, whether it's healthy or unhealthy or what, that's not their concern. For them, it's what they like to have. And they have good demanding statements. I want. That's how it goes for them. And now you have to tell them, now we have to come to a point of saying, I would like. You know, that's also a change. You're helping them to understand how to make requests. And there will be challenges along the way because at family level, in as much as you're two people coming to form a family, there is also the thought that you have been individuals for a time. So there is a set of ethos that you have, there's a set of thinking you have, there is a flow of thoughts you subscribe to as well. And in that situation, then we have to come to a point of balance so that we do agree that this is the agenda on the table. Where do we live? Where do we stay? Or what do we need to have as a family outlook for us? Because you're also careful about that in a sense. And you want to say then, here is the balance. That I would love to do this as Stanley, and you as my wife, you would also want to make your contribution in this manner, and therefore, then the balance is what we will sustain with.
It's about give and take, I imagine.
It's a give and take. Half the time is give and take. There are times you have to say, yeah, that's a good idea, we'll go with that. I don't have to bring in mine. Because not all the time you have to compete with whose idea is best. No. You're in a union, in a happy union, and therefore everyone can contribute and we can support each other.
But that's the ideal setup. But let's talk reality here also. There are times when you as the leader must make the call. The buck stops with you.
The buck does stop with me. And that's a hard one. But the thing is, there are times that the leader has to say, this is the way to go. And you have to say, this will never happen again. You know, there's all the situations where you say, as far as life is concerned, and we are a family in this setup, then this is the last time that such a thing will happen. And it will be obvious because you can see the consequences. You have bared a bit of experience. And so you know that our decision at this time about a certain matter came so far and we ended up in a ditch. And mostly you are the one who helped to end up in a ditch.
You probably dug it.
You probably dug it. And in that sense, then you have to realize and say, yeah, I do apologize because this is my doing in a sense, and I would love to see that we do it better next time. So you have to swallow that pride and say, yeah, I led us into a ditch, and this time now we would love to make better decisions, and we are not going to fall into a ditch next time.
Now, we're communal in nature. Even when God created the earth and spoke and created man, he saw that man, Adam, this guy, Bwana, is alone. Eve, community, beyond the self.
Beyond
you have
yourself.
a team.
You have a team.
How then do you, as a leader with purpose, onboard the others into that shared vision and motivate them at the family level, at the organization level, at the national level, even, for example?
Even at the national level, I do agree with you. And as you say, that the sense of community is a good way of looking at the world we live in. When everybody is crying about my, it's very good to be reminded that we are to stay together as a community. And the good thing I just point your way is when I live out my purpose, as the Lord has granted it, because the Lord has given everybody a purpose, my purpose is for service to the other. When I do my purpose and you do your purpose and the other individual does their purpose, then at the end of the day, we will collectively have served each other. And where you would have had a deficiency, then I would be covering for you. Where I have a deficiency, the other person, through their purpose, is also covering mine. And therefore, as a leader, once you understand the main purpose for what you're doing, it is very good as well to communicate to your team. So ensure that your team is on board to understand this is the direction we are going. I have a team of 4 members of staff currently. I have Joy, Lucy, I have Lewis and Mariam, who are big friends because we have journeyed along together. And when I am working with them, I would love them to understand that this is the direction as a department that we would love to go. And for us to shape that direction, we have already had our agreement. And everybody has their purpose in there. So it's not the leader's purpose, remember? Because at this point, we are communal. It's a collective purpose. We are a department. It's a collective purpose again. And therefore, everybody has made their chip in and everybody does their contribution so that together then the purpose is achieved. But the role of a leader is to ensure that everybody in the choir can sing to the tune and sing their voice, so that it is easy for everybody then to feel their contribution, and through their contribution see that together we are driving towards one end. So it is important in that understanding then to have it shared, for purpose does not belong to the leader, but it does belong to us collectively, communally, so that we chart the journey. And at the end of the day, you also want someone to feel either rewarded or you want to see them to see their achievement. It is very good for a leader, and this should be said loudly, that when an individual has done their contribution, it is not you as a leader. I think your work at that point is to applaud them. You did a good job, well done. And let the others know that he's the one who did the job. Because I know we have situations where if my company succeeds, you come looking for Stanley. But you're terribly sure Stanley was perhaps somewhere in meetings while the guys doing the job did the job.
And you recall, by the way, incidentally, what has just come to mind, that this is also scriptural, it's biblical.
Yes.
Remember when God spoke and he said, "This is my son, with whom I'm well pleased."
Yes. Who had a real good purpose on earth.
Yes.
And he came to bring us home. And that's a very interesting thing. As you say, we are communal. You know, you think of sheep. Sheep need to know their way home. So I am a part of the flock. You are a part of the flock. We need to know our way home. Christ comes. He has a clear purpose. He will take us home. And he does not fail. He did not fail. He will not fail.
Yeah.
So there he comes. Dies for us. Grace and truth comes through him. And now we belong to the fold as we go home.
Now, talking of sheep, there'll always be in any community the odd one that everybody's going left, like India, and then right. Challenge, anapotea, which now requires the shepherd.
Yes.
To leave these and go and seek the one that has gone off on a tangent.
Absolutely.
Contextualize you as a leader. What are some of these challenges that you face?
There are times when in different groupings you have someone who, or two people or three. It's normal, and I think it's welcome. As I journey in my leadership experiences, now I appreciate. In the beginner days, you're very critical about it.
Maybe you're the one who was always going off.
There could be seasons as well. That are in other forms of leadership as well. I would be the one who needs to be brought back.
Right.
And graciously so, because every journey of a leader has been developed by other leaders. For me to come to where I am, it's because of the shoulders and the efforts, the sacrifices of other people, even the opportunity from other people. Someone says, oh, I think you can take leadership on this. Not that they can do it, but they give you the chance to do it. And so in that sense, then you play along and you start developing your areas of leadership. And as you say, for the sheep that goes astray, or for the individual who is sort of a different opinion, I think it comes down to the heart of the shepherd or the heart of the leader at that point, and especially in ministry circles, to see that we do not want to lose that one. Learning from the example of Christ, he says he will leave the 99 and he will come pick the one, and later now he will have the 100. And that example is one for under shepherds, the shepherds, Christ being the major shepherd, the arch shepherd, and we are coming to serve under him in God's vineyard as shepherds. Then, and in that sense, we ought to learn from our master that the purpose for that individual who has gone astray is then us to make the reach out. And practically so, there will be times when someone will be walking astray, even in faith, say, in the leadership of a church context, say for a pastor or a small grouping, and you can realize that an individual has been overcome by the world or has fallen into a ditch and sin. It is not in our place to cast them out. It's not in our place to take the judgment. That's not our purpose. And so we would have to take the step or the initiative to gently bring them in. And that's beautiful, because the Lord has given many ways, even in scripture, for how such a one would be brought back through the fellowship of one or two elders, 3 or 4 witnesses. You see that process? There's a reach out intentionally to bring that brother back to the faith, not to cast them out. And there are times, of course, even scripture allows it, that some never come back. And that's a difficult one, especially in our modern day, when we want to be inclusive, when we want to look good and cordial with everybody. So if someone, in a sense, what they say in harsh terms is doesn't toe the line, what do you do? And I think there will be structures perhaps now in organizations and in the church setup that can say, then we will part ways at that level. It's a difficult one. I think it's like a school expulsion, when somebody has to be set out of school for good.
Yes.
And so teachers have graciously reached out to you, please come back. Your fellow students also will have to be telling, hey, that route you're taking
is not the right one, or it's going to mislead the others.
You see, it's going to mislead the others. And so there is a value for which the Lord has given an environment of surrounding that sort of brings you back to the fold. But then if it comes to a point where now there has to be a last nail on the coffin,
it has to happen.
It has to happen.
Now let's talk briefly about authentic leadership then. When and how would you then say that this leader is authentic in their leading with purpose?
Leadership is both vocal and visual. And so for an authentic leader, it will be easy for those in the outside of him to tell whether you're authentic or you're fake. And people all over the world can sniff that. You can sniff good leadership from afar.
Yes.
You can sniff bad leadership from afar.
Yes.
And that sensory nature of humans to sniff is one that is very strange, because naturally, even if we were to itemize names of leaders who have gone before us, or even leaders who are in the existent world we are in, someone will just easily say, hey, that's a bad leader. Or someone will say, yeah, that's a good leader. And especially, it's even better for leaders who are dead, because their character is not bound to change. So most good leaders are the leaders we want to talk about who are dead, because it would change. For there is also a jittery feeling when you're talking about someone and then tomorrow they do a thing and you're thinking, I just commended them. As a good
then
leader
you
there,
have an issue there.
then you have an issue there. Or you've written a book and it's already spread across the world, and now you can't go against your own book.
That's right.
So that's a bit difficult. But here it is. When authentic leadership is in place, then the character, the integrity, the output of leadership, the values that someone is able to culture around the people they are leading, that will stem not only from the leader, but now organically to the whole structure. So authentic leadership will be sniffed even from people outside. And that's why people say, I would love to work for that ministry. I would love to join that church. I would like to hear him more. I would love to be close to that gentleman. You have never seen them, but by the feel of how things around them, because remember, leadership is visual and it is vocal. So there's likely chances that you have heard him or heard them, and there's also a very good chance that you have seen the output of their ministry, or you have seen the output of their business, you've seen the outlook and output of family, and you're thinking, yeah, I would love that.
And hold that thought, because after this, we'll delve into the metrics of success in leading with purpose. Stay with us. Tell a friend. Tell a friend. See you on the other side of the break.
I've actually been trying to find a balance. It's been really tough and hectic, but everyone says once you get a hang of it, it becomes better, and I don't know, but I'm hoping to find a balance soon because it's really been hectic. But you've been in the job industry for a long time, so I think you would know better. Cindy?
Huh? What time is it? I need to catch up on Leadership Forum. Do they have a radio here? Never mind. I brought my own.
No way. You can't be serious. Wait, why do you have a radio and you can just catch up with the shows on Hope FM podcast?
Really? Even which of the what?
I mean, you can find them on whatever platform, name it. AfriPods, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you name it.
But I'm not subscribed on any of them.
So no worries. You can just check out the latest episodes on hopemediakenya.org.
You can now.
Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him. Come, let us adore him. Christ the Lord. Come, let us adore him. Come, let us adore him. Come, let us adore him. Christ alone umeketi kwenye enzi yote, umeketi kwenye enzi yote, Yesu peke wastahili utukufu. Oh, come, let us adore him. Come, let us adore him. Come, let us adore him. He Christ the Lord. Oh, come, let us adore him. Come, let us adore him. Come, let us adore him. Christ alone umeketi kwenye enzi yote, umeketi kwenye enzi yote, Yesu peke wastahili utukufu. Yeah. Oh, come, let us adore him. Come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him. Christ the Lord. Hope me. Media, Hope TV, Hope FM, tunakuish Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Welcome back. We're continuing on with our discussion with Bwana Stanley Wandeto from I Serve Africa. And just before the break, we're discussing the whole aspects of the challenges that you have, the navigation. But now let's move into, we're in agreement that we're created to exist in community.
Yes.
Which then presupposes that you are in a team, where the team could be at the family, could be at your workplace, could be as a nation. How do you motivate the team?
Yeah, there will be a number of ways. I think every individual on earth needs to feel their worth. And also, they also want to see that their contribution is adding value for that. And that's the purpose for their role. So if, you need to be one who sees that my input has a place in the overall success of the team, or of the goal for which we want to achieve. And one good way to motivate that is show appreciation as a leader. Do not overlook the hard work of others, because I'll tell you, you realize as a leader, at times you have a vision that is one line. We want to be the best organic farmers in East Africa. That's one line. Now, for the individual who is in the accounts department, that's not one line for them. So for them to keep tabs with the numbers is not one line. For them to check that no check is bouncing, that's not one line. So for them, it's a whole JD. So you have a vision at the top. It's very small, one line, but it's heavily loaded. Now, for the individual, say even a graphics designer, for them, they need to know that they need to produce 10, 15 videos a week. So you're talking 60 videos a month. So then for them, that's not a one line. That's a series of videos, a series of interviews, a series of preparation, a series of editing. So they are doing even overnight and things like that. So the vision is one at the top where the leader sits. But then what it means for the team is also to hard work for them. And therefore, show appreciation and then have a lot of sensitive leadership skills, because leadership is not a function for you to just say, do this. I think it's also to know the well-being of the individual. Are they happy where they are? Are they well rewarded for their job? Are they well catered for? Are they also in the right state of mind? Because sensitivity in the leadership, I think, is an emergent area nowadays. Are these people even safe in the way they are working, so that there is a free flow of information between the leader and subjects to ensure that no one is in a hard place, or what we say, between a hard place and a rock, and you still want them to bring output. So there is an area for you as part of motivation to ensure that there is a bit of freedom, that when you're engaging with your peers or with your subordinates, then there is a bit of sensitivity to ensure that somebody is comfortable in the way or the manner for which they're expected to do their job. And of course, there is also the goodies that come with leadership. There's a lot of privileges there. Ensure that you trickle them down. For when we get successes and then say there are bonuses or there are these meetings and the things that are happy clappy, I think your members of the team also need to participate in that, so that they're also motivated. Provide, I would say, even extra learning places or sessions where someone can build on their skill. Ensure that the person under you also is growing, so that it's not the leader's way that them only can grow. For we said when we were beginning that purpose has a way of defining that it is not gain to self, but more service to others. And therefore then the person who is in charge of a group would be seeing that others are also coming up. others are also coming up. And even maybe to outdo yourself and say, hey, leadership development, let others also come and take up my space and I can go seek other
And
spaces.
take it to the next level.
Why not? Yes, yes, yes. Because they will have better ideas than I do. If anything, they have also been seeing my style of leadership and they know what to avoid when they are the leader. For leadership can be learned both in good times and bad times. There are times we go through hard times and you're thinking the leader is a problem. No, I would say that God is also using that time so that you also get your lessons on board as you come up as a leader.
Indeed, it reminds me of two quick things. One is encouraging applauding in public but rebuking in private.
Yes, 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 yes. And that's a tricky area for when a leader is also emotionally charged, they want to clear you in public. Or sort of to clear the name.
Throw them under the bus.
Yes, yes, yes. I need to shine. So, and I think you are the problem here. So I'll put you under the bus, which is not fair. I think for, especially us in Christian ministry, we ought to be individuals who want to applaud in public and then we can rebuke in private, so that the intention for private rebuking is actually to bring back to the cause. But in public as well, we want to say that you have done well. And that has a good place. For a person who has experienced both, when I have been called in private so that I also straighten my ways, and when I've been applauded in public, it makes you a better leader. And even for yourself, in turn, you're able to go and help others.
And then we get into the subject of success. There's success that is both tangible, intangible, or otherwise. But somebody told me that success has many fathers, but failure is an orphan.
Yeah. And when you talk about success, there are many things that would come to mind. And on a flash of it, it's people will think KPI first. What are the key performance indicators? What are the things that are going to tell us that you're on point? And when you talk about leaders, we can talk about bosses, we can talk about people who are, say, just in charge of others. And measuring success can be different for different contexts, because in where I am in ministry, we want to see the transformation. You want to see how I began the journey with someone in January and what are we coming to in December. So that's a way of tracking progress. You can look at the year through feedback. You can look at the year through what we even call debriefs, because you want a channel that allows feedback as far as you're leading a team somewhere. And that journey of transformation, as well as any other journey, will have milestones. When you talk about milestones, there's the simple or organized pointers that help you realize you're not off course. So I'm coming from here and I'm headed to Moyale. Surely I need to see Isiolo.
Yes.
You know, that's a pointer. Or I'm coming from here and I'm headed to, say, a place like Ngong. Then I need to know what along the way helps me realize I am still on the way to Ngong. And once I hit a certain stage, say I have already left here and I have come to Karen, I know my journey is almost at certain points at this point. So I have done a few kilometers of the journey. So that's how success can be measured and traced along the way. And it will be tricky when it is just road and stuff when you say success, because you're also saying if someone doesn't hit, then I'm going to hit them, because that can be dangerous, and especially for Christian ministry, because some fruit of even the work we do will be seen after another generation. That's in case of a pastor. You're dealing with young people today. 10 years later, they are the ones leading your youth group. And you realize, oh my, so this had to take 10 years. So you do not see success immediately at that level of investing in the individual, shepherding the individual, telling them of the ways of the Lord. So at that level, your success would be very small, that I did my part. But eventually, 10 years along the line, and you see the output of life of that individual, you'll be grateful to God and say, whoa, now I see why the Lord gave me a purpose for that single time that I would achieve, that I taught them. And that's a journey of patience, a journey of longevity. It's a journey that you not naturally prepare for. Because I do not know, as we said, leaders are dealers in hope. I do not know 10 years to come exactly, but I have hope that what the Lord has entrusted to me today then will culminate to a good end in His hands.
Whose timeline are we talking about here? Because there are times when impatience comes in.
Yes, yes, yes.
And then, of course, again, in the context of the political cycles that we have, and the strategic plans that we all seem to be churning out to give direction and vision and mission and clarity and values and everything, there are timelines that are made by man.
Yes.
We have a purpose. Where are we heading? Who's the author of that timeline? But again, don't encourage complacency where you have no markers to define that you're heading in the right direction. I'm trying to suggest here that there are times in leadership you could be rushing us into getting, because you know you must exit and you have to define a legacy that while I was there, with brick and mortar that I can be remembered.
Yes. There's that innate desire for a leader that I need to be remembered for this. And it can carry a person to directions that they might not want to revisit later. But here's the point. The author and perfecter of our faith is in charge of time. Here we will be looking at the Lord himself, the maker of time itself, who is from eternal to eternal. The Lord is the author that we cannot run away from. Because you and I, as the common phrase we use around the world, time is short. Time is short. Time is short. And at times we are not thinking about the finishing time. We're just saying time is short because I'm feeling I need to clear something. It's not necessarily that I want to get to the end. It's I need to get this off my table. Time is short. That's how we take it. But on the grander scale, on the bigger picture, the Lord himself is the author of time. He is the one who knows eternity to eternity. And all our small dealings and doings in the world then ought to be aiming for that final end. As we was beginning, we talked of ourselves as sheep, and we said that sheep need to be led to go home because the Lord Christ has already come and has provided for us the route for which we go home. And for believers, for people in Christian ministry, and even across the whole world, any individual who is alive today, one day we will need to go home and meet our Maker, who lives eternally. So I think that as we live out our purpose, as we shape our strategies, our core values, and all the other brandy-like things that we love to put forth for others to see, we need to have the end in mind. And when the end is in mind, then it is possible for every individual to know that they need to walk along a certain path. For me and for every other believer, we need to reach eventually to our eternal home with God our Maker.
Now, there is the personal. There is the organization, as it were. How then do you strike a balance between the personal agenda in terms of purpose and that of the organization? Are they always converging? Sometimes they could be divergent, or they are parallel?
It's a little balance. The ideal situation, the good situation would be to have a balance for the two. Because you and I will know that there are organizations that we look at and we talk about the owner. And there are organizations we look at and we talk about the leader. You know, that's it's a subtle thing, but does communicate. For where we see mwenyewe in Swahili, the owner, and for where we see either mtumishi or mtu wa Mungu, or we see the leader, it's different. Because for the owner, it means it's withheld. It's a personal thing. But for the leader, it means that they are doing or churning out God's work so that there's an outflow for God's glory. There's a bit of difference there. And personal goals can find their way to intertune themselves to even say that the organization now is individual based. And that's difficult because that's where people will strain a lot, because even for an objective agenda, we just need to discuss how best do we move next year. But someone is already agitated because they want to think, how best do I move? So the language of we and I will also come in play. And I haven't been a leader for too long, but I can say that it is important for someone to clearly identify what is personal and what is organizational. Because the two need to grow. You're an individual, you need to grow. That's acceptable. The organization needs to grow. That's acceptable as well. But how do you now then strike a balance so that when it is personal, you ensure it does not override to come and influence the organization for meeting your own need? My own leader keeps telling me that ministry is not for personal gain. That statement has now sunk with me. And he says it clearly, ministry is not for personal gain. So that at the outlook of it, you're thinking, when I do what I am doing, it is for the good of others, for the good of the Lord, who has actually called me to his work here. Because it is not of my own doing. When the ministry is thriving, it's because God wants it to thrive. It is his at the end of the day. And therefore, there is value for the individual to see, how best do I keep my private life private and ensure that the organizational life is thriving organically as it's supposed to be for the good of the others. So there's a balance to strike there.
Now let's look at sustainable leadership, and I'm here cross-purposing or cross-referencing where you are at ISERV, because you deal with young people, the youth, the next generation, which is here, but across generations. How do you engage, and more so, even in your basic JD in terms of missions and partnerships? How do you reach out? How do you endanger? How do you nurture? How do you journey with them?
It's a process. When you're thinking about sustainable leadership, you're saying that we are coming from somewhere, we are somewhere, and in the future this needs to happen, whether I am there or not, because that's the other thing of a leader. It's not my presence in the future, but if I am not here, then this would continue for the glory of God. And one good way we have found working is that the advantage of having young people is that they are malleable. They want to learn, they want to soak, they want to get the ethos of it, they want to participate. So there's a joy in that. So you don't kill that, because there's a tendency for, I know where I am and therefore I'm thinking I need to show you. That's not the idea here. The idea is that I need someone to develop in their way as they grow, as they understand, they nurture, they are coming up. And as they are coming up from that progress, then you're also releasing opportunity, you're releasing the chance, you're releasing what is in your care so that other people can pick it up. So it is necessary for a leader to be conscious that for sustainability, then in a sense, you're outworking yourself so that you're not as necessary. That's the idea there. That I am doing this, but someone else is coming along who can do it better than I can do. And therefore, my time comes to be off the scene, they will actually continue. Because there are situations where when the leader leaves, then everybody wonders, how do we do it? That's not sustainable. The best way then is to ensure that we are bringing people on board who can follow after our steps, and as they follow after our steps, then they become better than us. And it's okay. I have seen it where I am, even people who come and they start their own organizations. And you're thinking, they got the training, they got the understanding, they got the opportunity, they served, and now they're helping others do the same in the other end. And you see that and you tell the Lord, thank you, I want to be a part of this. Because if I can see someone in their first year and you see them, they come along, they journey, they get to where you are, then they go past you, they start their own ministry. What else do you want in the world? The Lord is helping you to get to a sustainable space where ministry is thriving and bearing fruit that you have no control over. You want them to release and to go and shine elsewhere for Jesus. Because even where I am, as I was saying, is I have been brought up by people. So my turn also has come. I need to bring others as well, and sustainably they also go and continue with the good values they have learned, as well as what they did not find good, they will not go and repeat. Because when you replicate a mistake, it's bound to bring trouble to your end.
Speak to the Great Commission here, and also where the harvest is plenty, but the workers are few.
Yes, that would be very good, because mission space is where I'm working, and I love what I'm serving at. The Great Commission is a big deal for all of us. It's not a thing that we ought to be shy about. We ought to be bold about it, because we are sent as workers in the field to bring forth the harvest. And the Lord in his goodness has brought us into this space so that we want to tell Jesus what we are doing, and also tell others about Jesus who has done for us. So the testimony of the believer is one that is to be shared out. And the Great Commission has that aspect of bringing others into the fold, who in turn will bring others into the fold. And God has given every one of us a context, a space for which we are able to tell others about Jesus. And the Great Commission will work out when all of us, united together, will tell the story of Jesus Christ, so that we are not shy. And in the Christmas season especially, this is a time that we ought to tell our neighbors, our people we hang out with, the shopkeepers or the people we visit, wherever we are, we have a message for this season, that Christ is risen and he has come for our salvation. His purpose is to save us. So he has come that we might find our way home.
And when you're about to bring this plane to land, look at how you show it, not just what you tell.
Mm-hmm.
The line that you keep using. Do others see Christ in you?
Yeah. It has to be in that line, that Christ is seen before I can even say. For we love also the other statement, we say that people will always do what you do, not what you say. And therefore, as I live my Christian life, the way I treat people, the way I think about Christianity, how I handle my worship, how I even talk about my Christ, and how I do my daily dealings, it ought to be a flourishing testimony of the goodness of God, that others would be attracted as well, and they would see that there is a changed life, a transformed individual who has come to the saving grace of the Savior. So that then through that, they are able to even start conversations, or I can start conversations and involve others, that this is how I journey with the Lord. This is how I walk with him. This is what he has done for me, and therefore I am gonna serve him to the end of my days.
In this world, Jesus, before he ascended, said, you will have trouble.
It's a fair share. And every one of us has their portion.
So this is not our home.
It is
so
not
where
our
we're
home.
heading, when you pause for a moment here and reflect our journey thus far and where we're at, I'd like to pose a question. Are you where you should be? And where you're heading, is that where you should be going?
Yeah, a very good question. In the Lord's mercy, yes. I am where I am supposed to be, for I am his handiwork. It's not of my own doing. He's the one who has brought me to this point. And even where I will be headed, I am so sure that the Lord, in his overall great goodness, has planned it out. For no one, not even one, would come on earth and the Lord has not have a purpose for them. And therefore now, through Christ, he has already brought me on board, that I will become part of the flock. And therefore I know in my journey of ministry, in my journey of family, in my journey of my spiritual work, working out life itself, that he is the one who is shaping the way. And therefore in every step I have trust that he is the one leading every step until I meet him one day.
If you sleep, if you fall, where's inspiration? Who helps you? How do you help others in your team as you're heading home, like we say?
Either as one sleeps or falls, the bigger call is that we do not leave such a one behind. We want to carry along. Christ says that rather in Hebrews, he has gone in triumphal procession and he has spoils. And we are those spoils. He's leaving none behind. He's carrying us along. Remember that. Therefore, even when I think of that I would fall, I would sleep, I will always remember that the Lord is holding me in the rescuer's grip. You know, the
yes.
one that you cannot let go. I am weak. I could release. But for him, he's the one holding me. And he will hold me fast to the end of my days. I have no doubt about that. And those around me, those believers together, we together who have been called and have believed in Christ, will shine through the way until our eternity.
Asante sana. That has been the leader, leading with purpose, and such a relevant message during this festive season. You want to lead with purpose and how to do it? Be there. Next week, same time, we thank you for the privilege of your time. Asante sana Bwana Stanley Wendeto.
Thank you so much.
Director,
Missions and
Partnerships at iServe Africa.
Asante sana.
Courtesy of the Evangelical Alliance of Kenya, I'm Edmund Budibo. Stay well, stay tuned, be blessed.